What's up, hockey fans? It's time for another edition of Just Winging It. So hopefully you're seated and ready for some laughs and some entertainment, because I can't think of a guest that we could have on that would provide more of those than this guy who's been chomping at the bit for this opportunity all season long. So without further ado, let's welcome forward to the Kalamazoo Wings, number 17, Luke Sandler. Thanks for doing this, buddy.
Oh, anytime. I look forward to this. I've been waiting for this moment.
How's the offseason treating you so far? How are you staying busy?
It's good. So the beginning of the offseason, I didn't really be able to do too much because of my wrists and whatnot, and still in that cast and still trying to do a lot of therapy and stuff like that. So that was going on for a while. I'm actually still finishing up my therapy. I actually had my last appointment on Friday, so I'm pretty happy about that. And everything like that. I've been actually doing real estate classes too on the side. So that's been keeping me busy during the quarantine, just like working out, stuff like that, the usual. Then we just moved. So yeah, other than that, so just trying to stay busy.
I was going to ask you about the wrist, because that was such a crummy way for the season to end for you. You came off your Hattrick game, which we'll get into a little later on. Very next game in Brampton, first period, maybe second shift of the game, just kind of a fluky collision that you guys didn't see each other coming, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're out for the year. I mean, how are you feeling, and how frustrating was that to end your season?
Yeah, it was tough because, at the point when it happened, honestly, I never really had anything like that happen before to me. So that was kind of in shock. And I remember talking to Booter after after in the bus, and I was just I've never had anything happen like that before. So it was he knew he felt for me and stuff. But it was it was tough, and especially to know that you broke your wrist and get told you pretty much know season's over. Even if looking at the time frames now, if you make playoffs and you go for a run, it's the only way I feel the time frame to come back is if you're all the way in the finals, because of how much the doctors tell you a certain amount of time in the week, so then they'll tell you that you got to do rehab and stuff after to get it back to being normal. So it's it was tough pill to swallow and stuff, but everything's good now though, which is nice. It's still have some stiffness, which is normal, but the range of the strength of it though, everything like that, I'm able to do everything, which is nice. So
the day that happened, I tried to give you some sympathy pains by running into that garage door, so I hope that was appreciated.
Yeah, it was in a way.
What's a typical off-season look like, though? I mean, this obviously kind of changed things up, right, with the season ending due to the coronavirus concerns and everything. But John Bates wants to know what a typical off-season for Luke Sandler looks like. What do you do to pass the time?
So usually, like I said, take away from Corona in a way, the normal off season technically is, like I said, you're healthy. I'm not doing, the wrist stuff. It's you're getting up, I'm going to train. And then after that, it's usually a skate, and then, or it's flip flop, or, vice versa. And then after that, you come home, eat. And then kind of for the work wise, I'm doing the sales. I'll go to the office if I have to with my dad, if he needs anything from the warehouse, or I'll just kind of do the sales on my own. And, just stuff like that, other things I can do, hang out with some old buddies and kind of stuff with that. But now it's leaned in more towards, like I said, doing the real estate stuff on the side and just kind of doing extra stuff like that to keep myself busy. So right now it's mainly just you wake up, I have my therapy 3 times a week in the mornings. Come back, I'll get a little workout in with there, or I'll go for a bike ride, something around the city, and then I just I'll do my real estate stuff all day, and then just kind of go from there.
I ask everybody the same question, but the reason being everybody has such a different way of describing it. And I want to ask you how you would sum up this past season, because a lot happened, a lot of challenges, or a lot of adversity you guys went through. It ended so oddly. How do you sum it up?
It's funny. It's a tough question. Usually the questions come naturally, but it's hard to say because I feel like it was an up and down. I feel like we were kind of up and down, and I feel like that, then you just start to find your groove in a way where it's we know that we have a push coming for the playoffs, and it's we need to start winning, and then all of a sudden it's just you blink your eyes and you're the season's over. It's I don't know how to. It was I thought it was a fairly decent season. Obviously it could have been better with where we were, but it just it's hard to put a label on it, because you could say, oh, I thought it was great, but it's not great because nobody made playoffs. Nobody won a championship. And then you can't say it was bad because nobody made playoffs. You get what I'm saying? So technically,
yeah.
But I know team-wise, I definitely know as a team, we wish we were in a better, spot where we were at. I wish we'd like to be winning or be in the top of our division, be the big dog of the division. But at the end of the day, it's it's one of those seasons where I think you kind of go over what kind of happened, and you just kind of, like I said, you just kind of wash it and move forward for the next season,
Yeah, you bring up a really good point that I've thought of throughout this process, and it's the perspective that each team has. I mean, we had our struggles throughout the year. We were making that push for the playoffs, but then you have teams that were sitting pretty atop their division, hoping to go win a championship, and those guys now same position we are.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating way to look at it. I mean, perspective is a big thing for us. Maybe it's an opportunity to regroup and start fresh next year, and for some teams, it's what could have been.
Yeah, like for example, South Carolina. When I played, in Atlanta, they were always a good team. They weren't the Florida Everblade good back a couple of years ago, but this year they were like, was it? I mean, I don't know, probably one of the best years they've had, and like they were unbelievable. Their record was insane. So you look at it as like even with the Tampa Bay Lightning, the year they lost to Columbus and got swept. Like that year, everyone's like, oh boy, Tampa's the cup's automatic. In your mind, you're like, SoCo is probably. You're just how sometimes you in your brain. I mean, anything can happen. But like again, a team like that, you feel for them. I mean, you feel for every team, but I guess a team like that, like put together a strong year, had a big run. They were like, hey, or like we had, like you said, you have guys like here, we have Tails, Willie, like Callie, older guys are like want that championship. Like maybe guys in that team, and all of a sudden it's just like, hey, you guys are the best team in the league. Sorry though, your season's done. It's like what happens next year? Maybe half those guys are like, we're not playing, or what if something happens? It's like, now what happens? It's tough. It's tough to see. It was a brutal end to a season.
For you personally, you had an 11-point uptick in your numbers, career high assists, career high points, on pace for career high goals before the injury, scored your first hat trick of your pro career. Where does that moment, the hat trick specifically, where does that rank for you?
It's definitely up there. I mean, it was really nice to get a hat trick. I mean, I've had some games where you get like 2 goals in a game or this and that, and like I mean, it's. Like I said, playing in the pro game, like I said, in certain leagues I've had like decent numbers. Here it is, but never really had like a strong like big point year like I used to have back in like juniors or this and that. So it was definitely nice to kind of get that like moment back of like being able to put up a hat trick or something like that. So that was definitely up there, one of the better moments.
You did lead the league at one point in a category. Do you know what category that was?
No, I'm not sure. Maybe goals?
Maybe minor penalties?
Oh yeah, probably.
So what do you think about when you have to sit in the penalty box for 2 minutes? What goes through your mind? It's got to be quiet.
Yeah, but I'm luckily for me, I'm never quiet, so I kind of always like look next to me, see who's next to me, start talking to the person in the box. Like technically it's our bench, so I got Rooster there, or I got Blaney usually sits in the end, so I get to kind of see him smirking there, or I can like kind of peep out and see what Booter is, maybe if he's smirking at me or not,
Yeah.
Or I can always look across to see what you're up to.
Yeah, I mean, it's always entertaining up there. You sat up in the press box next to me. At some point, you just have a conversation with yourself.
I mean, would you be?
No one's judging.
Would you be surprised if I did?
No, I mean, no one's judging. So I figured I'd ask it.
Oh yeah, I guarantee I've had convos with myself. I get bored in the box.
Because 3 months in quarantine is a perfect comparison to sitting in the penalty box. You have a lot of moments where you just probably need to sit down and have a conversation with yourself and see what happens.
I'm like, honestly, sometimes I get like proud of myself in quarantine. Like I said, like I'm doing, like I said, this like real estate class on the side, just like doing like kind of like, give me something to do in quarantine. I actually sit there and do it. I'm like, wow, like I didn't know I could be just quiet and sit here and stare at a computer. I'm like, the minute people get home, it's like, yo, what's up? Like, let's hang, let's talk. Tell me about your day. Tell me about your life. Tell me what you like. When did you brush your teeth? What time? I want to know everything.
Do you remember your last official fight?
I think it was last season. I don't remember against who.
Because what I'm getting at is how would you because how I see you as a player is and I mean this as a compliment completely, but it's kind of like a rat, like a rat to play against. You're tough to play against. You like to get under the opponent's skin. You like to talk. You like to hit. You play that physical game. Don't necessarily fight, but you can if you need to. Is that a fair comparison? Like, who would you compare your game to? If you had like an NHL player, you'd compare it to.
Yeah, I mean, like my first year or so in the league in Atlanta, I had led my team fights with like 10 fights that one year, and then like after that, like I kind of like in a way set the tone in that where it shows like he'll fight when he needs to, this and that. And then as the time grew, like I said last year, like Booter's giving me more opportunity to play where it's like been PK and more power play. So in my case, it's like to go out there and sometimes looking for those fights is not always ideally. And I feel like when you earn the respect from the coach, to say, hey, this guy can play, let's let him play now. And in my case, sometimes it's like I just want to go out there and play and not just worry about the fighting this and that. Like I said, if someone was after guys, this and that, I'm going after him. I think my first fight in KZoo was somebody touched my buddy Dimes. You can't do that. That's my boy. So like you can't. So, but yeah, I mean, like, I always try to like compare like to Tom Wilson. I feel like it's a good example, like how he plays the game. He could play PK, he could play power play, he could hit, he this and that. And when he has to fight, he fights. It's just like I try looking at guys like that. Like I've always been a fan of, like I said, never ever in a category of a heavyweight, ever like a Lucic or guy like that. But I've always loved the way Lucic played because he's just a mean player, runs around and this and that. But also a little Brad Marchand too because he's just an absolute rat. And that's just what got me going in Atlanta was just the success of being a rat. But the thing was too, in that division, I also would fight too. So it kind of gave you that more of respect from teams and players where it's kind of like, you know what, like he already earned himself. He could fight. So now he can go out there and play hockey,
I really like the way you describe that too, because your story specifically in earning your chances. When you earned your chance at Atlanta, you had to work your way up from the SPHL, get into the ECHL.
Yeah.
And sometimes you have to do those things and actually drop the gloves and fight. And then as you get those opportunities, like you've been given in Kalamazoo, power play time, penalty kill, you're a little more cautious about going to the penalty box for 5 minutes at a time. It's a great way of putting it. And obviously, I like that awareness in your game to know, when's the right time, when's not the right time. I got to talk about your boy Dimes because you already mentioned him. So it was coming up at some point.
It was coming no matter what.
Zach Diamond Tony.
I drew a stick figure right here. Hey, buddy, what's up?
Zach Diamond Tony, your roommate, I would say probably your best friend on the team. Kind of like a yin and a yang, polar opposites maybe, the opposite, odd couple, if you will. Is it safe to say there's a bromance there? You guys are like two good buddies?
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%.
What's one fact about Zach Diamond Tony that most people don't know? Because he's kind of a quiet guy, so he's reserved, right? You're kind of the storyteller.
Well, let's see. The people that don't know him, I mean, the guy's allergic to everything, so don't breathe on him.
How many times this year, Sandy, on the road did they bring the team meal with something Zach Diamond Tony was allergic to? I felt so bad for him because we had the order correct. We sent the order in, and then they left the cheese on, and he can't eat it.
I remember, where were we? I think it was Wheeling, or no, it was somewhere where we got in. We had a meal in the room, and like a little like a media room, whatever it was there. And I remember it being wrong. I remember Booter saying like, "Hey, like I'll go pick you up your Chipotle." I was like, "Well, shit, I want Chipotle too. I want the brown rice. Like I got an allergy too." Like it was just funny when Dimes was like, "Yep." I'm like, "Wait, we were just calling you?" He's like, Dimes. He's like, "Yeah, he's going to pick me up some food."
That happened like 3 straight trips to Wheeling too.
Oh, always like that. Oh man, I always feel so bad. But no, with Dimesy, like the funny thing is about Dimes, like he's, like I said, last year when I first got to the team before my Colin Jacobs came, Dimes, I'm a very friendly person. Like I'll make friends with everybody. I'll talk to everybody, whatever it is. And with Dimesy, I just kind of like clicked with him right away. I remember he took me for lunch one day. We just kind of, he's a very quiet guy. But with me, obviously you get broken out of your shell like this because I don't let you be quiet. You have to be able to learn how to talk. And with Dimes, he looks like a quiet guy. But once you get to know him and you get comfortable and you're with him, he is just like he's actually so funny.
Speaking of you two, we're doing the team awards right now. We're almost done with the awards, and you've been nominated you've been a finalist for 2 with a fan favorite, which is pretty cool given that's how the fans voted and feel about you. And then most improved, where you and Zach Diamond Tony were both finalists for. How much pride do you take in that?
Oh, it's nice. I mean, I feel like I said, even for Dimes last year, he won it last year, and then this year too. Like for a guy like him, and it's a big award because it just shows like you put in the work in the summertime. You came this season, you ready to rock, and you trusted the confidence what the coaching staff and the team thought of you to produce. Like in a way, like if it wasn't for Booter and Marty and the boys on the team to like believe in what I could do and what I could add this year, I wouldn't have been an improved player. You kind of like you take that. So I mean, I think it's one of the better awards I've seen.
Fan question here from Will. He wants to know: do you have a favorite prank that you've ever pulled on someone?
Oh man, I do. Oh, what's funny? Like is jokingly and fun as I am, I don't do a lot of pranking. It's really weird. I wish I would more. Give me a second here. Hang on. I got to use my brain here for a sec.
That's a scary thought.
Hey.
No, I'm kidding. Who's the biggest prankster on the team?
Ooh, Willie.
Ben Wilson. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all, actually.
Yeah.
The whiteboard prank that you and I were up in the press box for, that's courtesy of our equipment manager, Mitch McLeod. Be honest with me. Did you know anything about that, or were you as surprised as I was?
Hand in the air, I promise you, I had no idea. That's why when we were up there and you said something to me about this, and like I looked so confused at you, and I was like, what are you talking about? And you were like, you didn't believe me. I was like, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Because I was going to prank you with my whiteboard sign, whose idea was it to give Luke Sandler a microphone, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And I get up there and I'm ready to show you, and I've got, that grin on my face, and all of a sudden you look at it and laugh, and they're like, oh.
Yeah, no, I know. I kind of
joke's on me.
It looked bad for me because I looked at it, and then like I looked at you, and then you looked at me. I was like, I have no idea what the hell this was.
Speaking of Meech, he's got a question for you. Mitch McLeod does. How many different ways can steel go in a skate?
Well, it's supposed to go a certain way, but Mitch always finds 4 different ways to put it in.
Is there an inside joke there I'm missing?
Yeah, because you know me, sometimes I'm very detailed. I'll look at every little detail of stuff, and I still do. And one time I thought I noticed that my steel was in backwards. I just, with the certain edges the way it was, and I was all worried about it, and then I realized that it couldn't go the other way. So Mitch was actually right. So I was like, hey, my bad.
Speaking of detail, the first time I ever met you was right before training camp in the locker room, and the Warrior sticks had just come in, brand new this year. They used to be CCM. This year the league went to Warrior. And I just remember the detail. You had probably 20 questions about each stick, which one you want to use, which one you're going to try out. Mm-hmm. What I'm getting at is your tape job on your stick. Very unique. I've only seen it one other time, and it's from an NHL player, James Neal.
Jamie Benn,
that's what I meant to say. Jamie Benn, Dallas Stars. Was that your inspiration? And did you guys chirp you for it?
Actually, no one really like chirps me about it. I really don't care if they do or not. I mean, like, hey, at the end of the day, the funny thing is the tape job, it worked. So I was like, I don't care. And I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. I liked it. I loved Jamie Benn's he's probably my favorite player. He's been for a while. So, I mean, like, it was just something like, guys, you try new tape job, you try new stuff. And just, at one point I was like, what's the worst that's going to happen? It's a tape job. Like, I mean, if I've got awful with it, then maybe I'll stop doing it. But like, it's not like I'm out there, toe dragging, dangling guys. I do though. Sometimes I have some sick moves here and there, which is whoa, but I'm not looking to toe drag guys, do the Austin Farley through the legs, that guy. So I'm like, I don't really need this full tape job to be able to do these sweet toe drags. I just need enough tape on my shit to go get the puck and shoot it and pass it.
Chris wants to know what your favorite Cocoa 5 flavor is.
Pineapple.
Okay. Speaking of Cocoa 5, so obviously it's your dad's company. You work for him in the summertime. Fill people in. Like, what do you do for the company typically?
So for me right now, what I've been doing for the past 2 years now is I do team sales. So I'm involved in reaching out to, all different sports teams from like the NHL, the AHL, even the ECHL as well too, just reaching out and trying to get product through there. Or from the past, we've had other sales people that have dealt with them. So now I kind of took over, hey, like I'm, so-and-so taking over now. Like, and then, before the quarantine happened, I was just starting to reach out to MLB teams, actually, calling them, getting, cold calling them, getting their emails, reaching out to them. And then obviously stuff happened. And so, yeah, I do a lot of the team sales with like, mainly hockey, trying to do baseball. And then we were doing some college stuff too. And then, like I said, for right now, whenever, there's help needed at the warehouse, that's more what I'll do for him right now. But usually it's the full summer is just doing more like team sales and be more in the sales rep for that. Speaking of your dad, do I have this correct? He comes to every single one of your games? Pretty much, yeah, except he doesn't go to Wheeling because it's kind of out of the way. And I don't really think he likes going out to Wheeling. But because he sits front row at Wings Event Center, if I'm not mistaken, right behind the goalie and bangs on the glass. And he's probably the most enthusiastic fan in the building. Yeah, he might be fan of the year. Yeah. We should have a fan of the year award. We, as a joke, for was it a little Christmas or a little funny gift we made him. It was the one play when I I passed the Dimes back door and we scored. It was like right in front of my dad. My dad was up there banging on the glass. And we got a picture of my dad like banging on the glass with me and Dimes like right there. So we got it printed out for him as a mouse pad. It was pretty funny.
That was against Indy, right? I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I know the exact picture you're talking about. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Jason wants to know, why'd you change from number 38 your first year in Kalamazoo to number 17?
When I was a kid or younger, I always wore 17 because of Brett Hall. Favorite player growing up, always. And then obviously, like throughout the career, I've been a lot of different teams. I just different numbers, and then 16 and whatever it was. And then last year, when I came to the team, I didn't really have many options. It was like 38 was like the size that fit me. The one number was taken, so I didn't really have many options. So obviously, when the year ended, I wanted to just have a normal number. Not saying 30 is not normal, but I preferred 17 if it was available.
Wido wants to know who your favorite bus driver is.
Oh my! Anybody but Wido. No,
He was driving.
Probably Wido. He's fun. He's probably the most fun one because we get in the battles, we chirp, and I'll give it to him, we'll give it back to me. I've had him for 2 years now, and it's fun. He's when we get him, he's just so much fun. He makes like the rides more fun to like mess with them and stuff like that. Compared to getting a guy where he just doesn't talk to you, doesn't say a word to you, just like miserable. So he's fun.
I think he was also driving the bus when we were in Brampton when you got injured. So he was also asking how your wrist was doing. So
yeah, see with him, even though him and I will butt heads, we'll chirp each other, but he was like, the minute after my surgery, he was like one of the first ones to reach out. He'll reach out to me summertime, say, "Hey, how you doing?" So I really like him. I've always liked him a lot. He's a good dude.
Earlier in your career, you spent a little bit of time at Lake State up in the Sioux in northern Michigan. Do you still keep in touch with any of those guys? There are a lot of Lake State alums that play in the ECHL.
Yeah, I do. So one of my good buddies, Zach Loesch, he's a big, tall defenseman. He actually lives in Chicago now, not too far from me. So we've been friends for a while still. And then I keep up with some of them here and there. A lot of our team was kind of like separating away with like different classes being like let go and other guys moving out and stuff like that. But I've kept in touch with some of the guys, like the closer friends I've had there.
Because one of our fans also went to Lake State. Her name's Shannon. It was like 20 years before you did. So you weren't even born yet. But she brings up a good point. Lake State used to be a dominant program. I mean, they used to have some really good teams.
Yeah.
And she wants to know if you have any idea, what's been the biggest challenge when you got there. Was it just kind of it's tough to recruit against some of the big powerhouses?
Yeah, so that's what the funny thing was. Like going like when I first started talking to them, and obviously, and you look at like the history of them, you're like, wow. I mean, it's amazing. Everyone knows what it is. It's an amazing school. Definitely now you're thinking like, oh wait, what? Like you don't know as much right now, but the problem is probably recruiting. They're in the WCHA still, and then they different leagues now, and then teams have gotten better, and it's hard to, I guess, sometimes compete with the powerhouses, I would say. And if you go, comes to detail, maybe people don't want to be so far up north. Like you don't know the big details, but it also just depends, though. But I would definitely say it comes in handy with the powerhouses taking over now.
Murph is asking, do you play the NHL video game? And do you ever play as the K-Wings, and do you ever play as Luke Sandler in the video game?
I actually don't. I actually never have.
You've never played the game?
Oh, no. I play the game all the time. I'm only currently – Hildy and I are playing it currently when I'm probably after this conversation. Beautiful.
Who's better?
Me for sure.
So do you play as the Blackhawks and he plays as the Penguins? Do you go with your hometown team or what's the plan there?
No, so I play with my buddy Murph, who asked the question as a joke. We play together. We'll play online. We're always Calgary. We'll play online together against people. Like play against like little kids and like torment like 10-year-olds and stuff like that. Really like let them know what's up.
I think the whole Chicago connection, though. Do you have is there a favorite sports team that you're a diehard fan of, or because you play pro sports, you maybe don't have that diehard kind of mentality?
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing was, as a kid, always growing up, my favorite diehard team was always the Detroit Red Wings.
Wow.
And because of, like I said, the Brett Hall era, just like that. And plus, when I was playing for Team Illinois back in the day, we were always in Michigan, always to Detroit, and we'd go to games. I've been to Joe Lou. We played there, and I just fell in love with it. And they were like, I would literally go to Blackhawks games with my dad, and I would literally be wearing a Detroit Red Wings shirt. Like, wow, what a slap in the face. And then eventually, plus it was kind of one of those things where the Blackhawks were really bad too, like back in the day. So I was kind of like, okay, whatever. And then they got better, and I get older, and you're like, well, I'm from Chicago, probably should be more a Chicago fan. I started getting more into them, and I've always liked the Chicago Cubs though. Baseball is not baseball does bore me a little bit, but now being a little bit older, you kind of enjoy it more. But like Wrigley Field and the Chicago Cubs is such an amazing place to be.
I totally agree. I've been there once. It was in 8th grade, and it was such a cool experience.
Yeah.
Wrigley Field and scalping tickets and taking the train to the stadium.
It's so cool, yeah.
It's unlike anything else. I have an Instagram question that came in for you that said what it's like playing your role on the ice. And it kind of ties in with what we talked about earlier in the conversation, like the role that you have kind of resigned yourself to and you play very well. What it's like playing that role, because the fans seem to appreciate it.
I mean, I love it. It's a funny transition to think about where it is now. I mean, I've always, since I was even younger, like I was always waiting for that day when hitting was allowed. I mean, I couldn't imagine not hitting somebody. Like, it's just the most fun for me. And like, it's, but yeah, I mean, as you're younger, like you're playing like, more of like AAA and then, high school and then to, juniors, it's like, it was always, the point guy, the goal scorer. But like, as time grew to juniors, the hitting started to like really step up where it's like, okay, wow, this guy, he hits, he can rock guys. And then I just kind of took that role where it's like, you know what, I know where I'm at in my career. So I wasn't like, a draft pick. I wasn't a highly touted prospect. So it's like, to work your way up, you need to find what works. There's guys that, like me, who are younger or who are more dominant, can put up points. The next question is, what's going to separate me from them? Okay, be a net front guy. Go be a physical guy. Be a guy that will grind. And then when your time comes, put the puck in the net. So that role just kind of started developing for me. And the more I got older, the more higher up my career I got, the more I started embracing that role more to try and separate myself from other players, because everyone wants to be a goalkeeper. Everyone wants to put up points, but there are so many players like that. Like, can you say, okay, I'm a point scorer. Okay, can you put up points like Patrick Kane? Probably not. So if that's the case, then you got to find a different role, a different way to make it.
Pound for pound, in your opinion, who was maybe one of the toughest guys on last year's team? Because there was quite a few guys that could hit and could play that tough physical game.
Oh, Willie, for sure.
Who would you say hits the hardest? Because I'm curious about this one. This is kind of an unfair question, though, because you don't hit each other. You're hitting the opponent.
Well, besides me, see, we have like Willie hits hard. You have there's some like, I'm trying to think who. I want to say Willie.
Yeah.
He rocks guys.
I think who we talked with Hildy earlier about, the highlight reel saves he makes. And, obviously when you have those highlight reel goals, you want to see it end up on the top plays. And every hockey player has that. The highlight reel hits, the ones that I remember the most from the press box, at least, and this is just one opinion, but Zach Fry had probably 10 of them last year where he just laid somebody out. And maybe that's what stood out to me, but I can't argue with you. I mean, you hit Ben Wilson. There's quite a few guys on the team. Let's see. What else do I have for you? I only have a couple more questions, but you had a little experience up in the broadcast booth with me, sitting with the best view in the house at Wings Event Center. What was that experience like? Is there maybe a future in broadcasting? I mean, after all, you are a talker. You've flat out said it.
Yeah, I know. The funny thing is, I love it. It's something I wanted to get into for a while. It was like the past few years, I thought about kind of getting involved or taking classes. In a way, and because I feel like for me on camera, I love it. I embrace it. I can talk, and it was nice being, like I said, with you, kind of like listening to you kind of taught me more about what you do and how you explain stuff. It kind of I feel like we did it good together, so it was fun. But I know I loved it up there. I definitely could see a future with that, because I've always been interested in like kind of staying involved in sports and with like talking and using your strengths. So I mean, definitely talking and being like camera wise is for me.
Yeah, no, we had a lot of fun, and I thought we had some good chemistry there towards the end on the air. The Harry Potter night, the Wizards, Wands, and Wings night, where Kyle Blaney scored with 10 seconds left. You're up there next to me, and we had called a timeout. I believe we called a timeout, or there was an icing or something like that. Face-off comes back into the offensive zone. It was a tie game. We couldn't afford really to give Wheeling any more points in the standings because we're chasing them in the playoffs. So it's big 2 points at stake. And Kyle Blaney's line comes onto the ice. And I remember distinctly you saying, this is the line that's going to do it. I mean, were you calling your shot, or was it more of like a hopeful, hey, I'm on the air, let's say something nice about these guys?
No, I don't hold back on the air. I don't like I said, buddies or not, like I don't hold back. Like unfortunately that's what is I'm very blunt, which kind of sucks. Sometimes that's why you get caught maybe swearing or saying a bad word, but I won't hold back. If I don't like a play, I'll be like, oh my God, that was bad. But no, I just was like, the way the game was going, the way that line was playing, you just, with momentum goes, and like this is like a must-win game. I just kind of had a feeling. I was like, this is, the line's gonna do it. It's gonna be them. It's like automatic. I mean, like if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But it's like there was one line to do it that game, it was gonna be them.
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the biggest goals of the season. So it was fun to share that one. My last one for you, Sandy, is what's your future look like playing hockey? How much longer you want to do this? Have you given thought to Kalamazoo? Have you given thought to different leagues, going overseas? What's kind of going through your mind as far as hockey's concerned? And have you given any thought to after hockey and what that looks like?
Yeah, I mean, like I definitely want to keep playing as long as I can. It comes out of also being able to provide and make money and stuff too. But yeah, I definitely want to keep playing for as long as I can. And like I said, I'm hoping we can get stuff going right away in Kalamazoo, like ASAP, because I feel like with the way the season ended so abruptly, it'd be nice to get back and going right away. But yeah, I definitely want to keep playing, and maybe eventually, if there's a future, maybe it's going overseas. It's something with my girlfriend or something like that too. Eventually, at some point, it's a maybe. You never know. It just depends. But definitely want to keep playing as long as I can until you can't really anymore.
How much do you talk to Diamond Tony? Do you guys talk every day?
Yeah, pretty much. I almost make him talk to me every day. So
whether he likes it or not, he's talking to you every day.
Oh, 100%. There's times when I'm like, dude, and then he'll call me and be like 11, late at night. I'm like, hey man, I think I'm in bed. I'm like, that's cool. Like, what's up, man? And then he'll be like, all right, I'll owe you a FaceTime tomorrow. I'm like, okay, perfect, bye.
Oh man, this was a lot of fun. Thanks so much for doing this. And again, good luck with your upcoming NHL game with Hildy there against whoever you play online. We'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. It was a pleasure. And let me know when you need me again.
Sounds good.
Take care.